Hey everybody, Nick Espinosa, your chief security fanatic here, and today I need to talk about social media because we are witnessing the slow death of social media, and quite frankly, I think that's a good thing. But here's what's going on, and as you know, social media has taken multiple hits over the last few years, and just as I was thinking about this and preparing my notes, think about all of the things that are happening with social media over the last few years that we are now just learning about or taking action against. Fines from things like the GDPR in Europe or the CCPA in California are adding up to billions of dollars of losses for social media companies. US states, meaning states here in the US, as well as countries, are actively basically putting social media under investigation for data mining practices, privacy violations, and other things as well. We have seen war crimes committed on Facebook. I did a video/podcast about that. We have seen a genocide proliferated on Facebook in Myanmar. We have basically seen the growing radicalization of millions of people around the world. That is a huge problem. We've also seen mass shooters basically live stream their atrocities, like the Christchurch shooter in New Zealand, who streamed on Facebook, the Buffalo, New York shooter a week plus ago now, or so, basically live streaming on Twitch. Studies have also shown it causes depression in adults. Studies have also shown it hasn't helped the obesity epidemic either as well. Social media has been blamed basically in a rise of child and teen suicide, as well as rising depression rates. Now think about the constant pressure to post, get likes and comments, and what that would do to a developing child or teen, not to mention the obnoxious spike in both vanity and the false sense of superiority that many quote-unquote influencers have and clearly feel, as reported by multiple news outlets constantly. They've all lost billions of dollars in share price recently as more negative news comes out and the stock market keeps lowering that. The last one was Snap, that basically wiped, I believe it was hundreds of billions of dollars off of Facebook as well as other social media platforms. And so, quite frankly, the only saving grace that social media companies themselves seem to have is that we and our children are thoroughly addicted to them, so advertisers keep paying to basically advertise to us, meaning as we are addicted to Facebook and keep on Facebook, advertisers keep coming back because there's a target audience there. Now, in the past, I have aired the absolute litany of sins that people like Mark Zuckerberg have brought upon the populations around the world, but the constant unmooring of democratic norms via the rampant misinformation and disinformation that spreads like wildfire is something that we are attempting to contend to. Governments have been slow to react, primarily over data mining and privacy, but not on the rest that I just listed out here, and that is the tip of the iceberg. But now, that's changing just a bit, and California is leading the way here. Now, this is coming from Adam Bean of the Associated Press, and I found this to be absolutely interesting. California could soon hold social media companies responsible for harming children who have become addicted to their products, thus permitting parents to sue platforms like Instagram, owned by Facebook, and TikTok for up to $25,000 per violation under a bill that passed the state assembly in California this past Monday. Now, the bill defines quote-unquote addiction as kids under the age of 18 who are both harmed either physically, mentally, emotionally, developmentally, or materially, and want to stop or reduce how much time they spend on social media, but they can't because they are preoccupied or obsessed or addicted with it. Now, business groups in California and around the country have warned that if this bill passes, social media companies would most likely cease operations for children in California rather than face a legal risk, meaning Facebook will simply shut it down. Great. I'm all for that. Now, the proposal would only apply to social media companies that had at least $100 million in gross revenue in the past year, meaning the small little social media companies don't have enough of a population for them to go after. And basically, they also, so in other words, they're appearing to take aim at social media giants like Facebook, TikTok, etc., that obviously dominate the marketplace as well. This would not apply to streaming services like Netflix or Hulu, or to companies that only offer email and text messaging services, meaning you've got that free Proton Mail account, they're not going after Proton because you're emailing back and forth. Same with Signal on the text messaging side. Now, this past Monday's vote is key, but not final. As a step for this legislation, the bill now heads to the California State Senate, where it will undergo weeks of hearings and negotiations among lawmakers and advocates. But Monday's vote keeps the bill alive for this year and basically their legislative session. The bill gives social media companies 2 paths to escape liability in court. Now, if the bill becomes law, it would take effect January 1 of next year, and companies that remove features deemed addictive to children by April 1 of next year would not be responsible for damages, meaning they've got a bit of a clause there to basically clean their act up. 4 months, if you will. April Fools, there you go. Also, on top of that, companies that conduct regular audits of their practices to identify and remove features that could be addictive to children would be immune from lawsuits as well. Now, despite these provisions, business groups have opposed this bill. TechNet, which is a bipartisan network of technology CEOs and senior executives, wrote in a letter to lawmakers that if the bill becomes law, quote, social media companies and online web services would have no choice but to cease operations for kids under 18 and would implement stringent age verification in order to ensure that adolescents did not use their sites. In other words, we may actually have to give out an ID to confirm who we are to use Facebook. That might cut down on bot traffic, but that is an interesting point. We'll discuss that one in a second. Now, lawmakers appeared willing to change the part of the bill that allows parents to sue social media companies, but no lawmaker offered a detailed alternative. Instead, supporters urged their colleagues to pass this bill on Monday and continue the conversation about this in the California state capitol. Now, Assemblymember Ken Cooley, a Democrat from Rancho Cordova, said basically as a lawyer, he normally opposes bills that create more opportunities for lawsuits, myself included. But he said lawmakers must, quote, change the dynamic of what is surrounding us, surrounding our kids. We have to do something. If it doesn't turn out right, we can modify as we go along. Now, the original sponsor and creator of this bill is actually a Republican in the California Assembly. And so there was thought there that, okay, are they following along the lines of Texas, suing for censorship, those kinds of things? This bill seems to be focused purely on kids. So I have to say this, I'm against things, as I mentioned, like frivolous lawsuits, but we are literally experiencing the damage that social media has done to the fabric of our society and our children. This isn't like a traditional business either, because their algorithms continue to prioritize damaging and harmful content. This has been seen over and over and over by whistleblowers, by studies. All these kinds of things have come to light. Now, of course, humans can get addicted to anything. So there has to be limits. For example, going after the Netflixes of the world isn't a good step, as mentioned. You can be addicted to Netflix. You can binge watch, which is literally what it's called when you're watching an entire season on Netflix or Hulu or take your pick. But think about it this way. What about online games? If they have a social media component, what about them? Games are addictive too. And these games can rack in hundreds of millions of dollars. Just ask EA and some of the other large studios out there. You see what I mean? There's no easy answer here in terms of creating a possible slippery slope argument for this specific issue. But what we do know is that social media has been more of a detriment than anything, and I would love to hear a logical argument against that statement. So, at the end of the day, as I am looking at these kinds of things, as I am reading the studies that Jean Twenge puts out in iGen or Jonathan Haidt puts out in The Coddling of the American Mind, and I see what this is doing essentially to society, especially those that have essentially grown up with a cell phone in their hands, cell phone cameras all around them, we have a very serious problem on our hands. It's something we need to address. It's something that's not going away. And with that, we need to talk about this openly, logically, and hopefully respectfully. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And you'll be addicted to all of them, but here we are. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please stay private. Thanks, everyone.